Good morning. The video today we are going to do is about information overload. And this is an important topic of today as we people are suffering from information overload. The days are gone when we didn't have technology. Today we have technology in each and every walks of life. So data is accumulating every day. Data is overloaded in hands of each and everyone, including a child. So we are going to discuss about what is information overload, how we can handle information overload. We just discuss the meaning of what information overload is. The meaning is given here. That information that keeps growing, which is in access of someone, and maybe they don't have time to see all information, then it becomes information overload. If you see a person checking his mail while traveling, then it is also an information overload. We take it naturally that we are on the way of movement, hence we have free time to look into certain information. But during travel, you are not supposed to be data oriented. During travel, you are in a movement. Hence, your body has to be in a still position. We'll see here what is important. In developing a design, we should see to it that information is not overloaded. Right? So you can see it here. It is important when developing your design that do not create information overload. This is important. And even in presenting some data to a target group or audience, we should see to it that your information is not overloaded. For example, you are going to make a simple presentation on principles of management. Let's take it as a Henry Fayol's 14 principles of management. You must be aware about the 14 principles of management by Henry Fayol. So this can consist of around 14 to 15 slides. It should not go beyond 14 to 15 slides. If you are making around 30 to 50 slides, then it is information overload. You should be able to convey things precisely within the given time. Else, sometimes it may confuse their decision too. So today it has become an art of not loading the information. It is really a challenge, as we have diverse people. We have people who require more information, and people who require optimum information, and people who require less information. So that's the challenge today we teachers are facing. So we'll have to optimum the information that has been loaded on someone. You can see it on the screen. It represents various sources of information that a person is getting daily. There are lots of sources of information through which a person gets information. It is listed. See, there are lots of icons of information source has been listed. There is huge number of icons you can see here. Bloggers, social media, websites, and so forth, news media, everything. So today, information is overload is very clear. So unless you manage yourself, this information overloading will not leave you polluted, drained, desperate. So it might destroy your thoughts too. We'll just look into the brief history of information overload. As said by me, it is said that the term information overload was coined by Bertram Gross, the professor of political science at Hunter College in 1964, in his work The Managing of Organizations. And it was popularized by Alvin Toffler, the American writer and futurist, in his book Future Shock in 1970. It is a small history. Of course, there's a lengthier history, and might be there are some other people who have also known that information is overloaded. Remember, in 1964, this thought has arisen. See, it is in the year 1964. So, in the year 1964, people have started to think about information overload. See to that how much information today we are overloading on various people. Might be students, might be your employees, might be your kids. What for the information has been overloaded is a big question mark. Why this information is overloaded is a big question mark. Right? We all know it, but still we'll move to the next slide. This history details lots of instances, and one more definition what happened in earlier times, and you can just go through this that I have given in short in the last slide. We will move to this, the end of history of information overload. You can see the image on the right hand side. Right, this is the day when laptop was grown, and it was in the lap of a person who is in the restroom. So he has lap on his lap and a phone on his ear. So he is not able to take rest in the restroom. Remember, restroom is a place that you should never do any other thing than being rest. Right? But people started to do something because their position has changed to a Western style, which is a dangerous style. Right? That's why people in Western countries are being facing or witnessing different diseases, both physically and mentally. Indian style is one of the best. Right? So when you feel that you are taking your mobile during travel, you are not able to look through the window and enjoy the sceneries, you are not able to talk to a person who is sitting nearby during your travel, then your information is already overloaded. If you are able to talk to someone who is near, then maybe you think that you have someone nearer has better information that you have. Right? So this is the case. We'll move into next slide that explains the best way to maintain a clean data visualization. There are certain stages through which we can make a clean data visualization. So to make a clean data visualization, generally it goes through a process of creating or defining your own objective. Then moving to appropriate chart type. You should know the purpose of each type of chart. The third one is to simplify and detail the chart clearly with all required elements. Number 4. Use the color wisely. You can see here there are lots of colors that has been used. So hence it is said that use the color wisely. In case you will have to indicate something like stop, something like dangerous, something as should not, something must be avoided, then use red. Use appropriate colors so your presentation might grow better. Next is prioritize data hierarchy. That is important. This one, data hierarchy, is important. The last but one, incorporate interactive content. So incorporating interactive content has become very important today. For an example, an internet website has an interactive content. If you want to buy something, you can see sliders on the left. You can slide between, if you are going to buy some wedding suit for you, you can slide and decide what is the amount between which you would like to choose a wedding suit. So that is how the interactive content has been growing, right? So when you are able to maintain a clean idea at each and every step that you progress, then your data visualization becomes better than overloading. Right. The next is, what are the causes of information overloading? Why information is overloaded? Today what happens is, we think that we should have latest technology and we buy something. Naturally what happens is, information gets overloaded. That can be a source of information overloading. Use an optimum technology that you require. That might not attempt to overload information. As you know, there are pops up. Even if you don't want to see, there are certain pop-up that may attempt to overload information. Right? We'll discuss here. Huge volume of new information that is arising in day-to-day life. People are eager to know lots of things than knowing about themselves, their need, their purpose. They need to know lots of things. Hence, new information has been provided in different sources. Number 2, pressure to create and compete in information provision. In news media, in social media, there is a pressure to give continuously different informations. Informations in different dimensions, different angles. For an example, there might an information arise saying that UGC journals will be scrapped. What will happen with the media? One media will say that UGC scraps all journal list. One media will say that UGC is not going to follow any journal listing. The titles might differ with a little difference in content. But what happens? People open to look in what is inside that. They are eager to know that they might get something different in another title. That is how there is a pressure to compete in information provision. That is in point 2. Number 3 is the simplicity of creating and duplicating and sharing of information online. We copy and paste everything. So that happens. You can easily copy and paste. Earlier what happens is, in a meeting you will have to go and talk. Even if you copy and present something, you must get a forum wherein people come there, sit there. Only they smile at you, you will continue your speech. If they are going to sleep, you will curtail your speech. You will cut short your speech. But today in all social media and all online media, irrespective of what they see or listen or what they do, you keep on overloading information. Next is the exponential increase in channels to receive information. There are different ways to present information. The channels are huge. Number 5 is the increasing weight of historical data available. You are going to discuss with lots of historical data. Every day they keep posting, the historical data keeps growing day by day. That is really dangerous. We people are not aware about it. Because history will have different dimensions. You will not know which is correct and which is wrong. That is going to happen in future. So I'd say that technology will misguide you sometimes. You will not know what is right and what is wrong. Right? So wisdom has to be grown in case of any part of knowledge growing effort. Next point is high volume of conflicting, contradicting and plain old inaccurate information. Today people have started to give information, maybe they want to quickly give information, they provide a broad view of information and not a specific information. To say a small thing, they light a big comprehension. Right? No simple methodology for quickly processing, comparing and evaluating information. You don't have ways to know which is quick. Maybe if in future there might be a summary builder for a concept. That might arise because information is overloading. Already AI has arisen because it gives you a summary of information out of its learning from various sources of data on the internet. So that has started to happen. We don't know what it is. We rely on AI. And remember, AI is always not correct. You must be wise enough to know whether it is correct or not. The last point, lack of clear structure in groups of information. Right? Poor clues are there. Right? These are some of the causes of information overload. So when the clues are not clear, when the information is not clear, people go in for another place. For an example, you know that you will have to file, salaried people have to file tax return. But in a website, it is mentioned, in another website, they say that in this category, you don't need to pay, you don't need to file online returns for income tax if you are under this category, this salaried category. So what happens is, when the clues are poor, people have to see few other more sites, reliable websites to conclude. So the websites has to be reliable, the website has to be precise, the website has to be short and sweet in giving all information apart from going to FAQs. The FAQs are also not serving their purpose. We'll move to tips to avoid information in design. We are going to divide in two categories. I'll show you in the next slide too. Information overload in design and information overload in ourselves. There are two categories that we are going to discuss. The first thing is the tips to avoid information overload in design. Number one is, the less information you present in a design, let people watch, see and know what it is in design. Don't give all things in a design. Highlight important things in a design. Right? Number two, keep it relevant. Number three, keep it clear with supporting information that is given in point 4. With supporting information. And provide balanced information. Don't hype it or don't listen. For example, if you are going to say about the suspension of a two-wheeler, don't hype it or don't bring it down. Right? That is providing balanced information. Next is, make it clear when it to be done with information. For example, if you have to service your two-wheeler, they might have mentioned kilometers. In brackets, in small brackets, they would have mentioned that within 3 months too. So people might be confused. When should I go? Whether I should go within 3 months or 6 months. This is in case of service. In case of design, if you have mentioned some details about the design, maybe in construction, in placing windows, in certain designs, you must be clear. Right? The last one is, make it easy for the user to take action. Once they understand it clear, it will be easy for them to take an action. Right? It is very important so that the design becomes simple, easy and it is not overloaded. The design can be anything. It can be even a design to handle frontline customers. It need not be a technical engineering design, remember. It can also be a design to handle the frontline sales. Maybe it is a car showroom or a two-wheeler showroom. There might be visitors who would like to inquire on two-wheelers. So that you might have a design for it, right? In that design, in any part of the design, information should not be overloaded. For example, a person entering into a showroom would like to know about a two-wheeler. Instead of saying all the details of all two-wheelers, interact with them. Give the information that is required for them, right? That is a better design. Now you must be aware. We'll move to next. Here it is given one example, image of an example of image to just have a relaxation. Information overload in design. Getting information on internet is like taking a drink from the fire hydrant. Do you think that you can drink water from this force? It is really challenging. It will just slap your face and you will not be able to drink water. Similarly, is information overload in design. See to that your design is optimum such that it serves the purpose. We'll move now to the next, information overload, and we'll have to handle the information overload by ourselves. It is given here, overload which is created by ourselves, not by design. This overload is because of our own self. Feel free to ignore certain information. When you receive lots of mails, you must be able to ignore certain emails. Maybe email filter certain mails too. You can even have a filter system designed by you. You may not even open certain mails, right? So you must know to ignore certain information. Today that is what that happens, right? When you have been talking to someone, there are lots of people around who would like to give same type of information. You will not know whom to talk to, whom to listen to, right? In that case, you must be wise enough to avoid a person whom you think might not give more information or right information for you. So, it is about ourselves. Else, if you want to listen to everyone, then again it becomes an information overload. Next is feel free to take action without all facts. A wise man doesn't keep on looking for more information. When he receives basic information, which is enough for him to act, he will start to act, right? The next is create an information queue and tackle it on a regular basis. When you receive an information, learn to keep in queues. As said by me, there might be a setting priority in your emails. Just by clicking, you can say that it will be seen next, in the next priority. When you open it, it is of first priority. When you don't open an email, just by clicking on a small icon on the email feeder, what will happen is it will just keep in the unread in priority, right? So you can queue it to tackle information overload. Certain things you avoid, certain things you keep it in next priority, certain things you open and see which is in priority. That is the way you manage the information overload by yourself. So these are the ways in which you can manage information overload by yourself. We'll move to the next slide. In information overload by ourselves, filter information. Remember to filter certain information. And delegate information responsibilities. You delegate someone to procure information for you when you find less time to procure information. Delegate to someone to procure information. Then learn to skim, means get the gist of information, right? Right, these are some of the ways in which you can avoid information overload by yourself. And this is an image to show you that information overload is a symptom of our desire, and focus on what is important at that moment, and it is your choice, right? And with this we come to the end of information overload. See to it that in life, in your personal life, in your social life, in your professional life, see to it that you don't overload information in all the days. In certain days you can accept information overload, and it might be avoidable in certain cases. But see to it that when information is not overloaded, you are moving towards work-life balancing, right? Have a nice day. Have a good day. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.